But at the Gen Conference, I had a lot of interaction with folks from across the country, and we had a booth set up there, and so many people came up and said, I went to that festival when I was in junior high, when I was in high school, or I played that festival in 1985 with some of the older folks. It's just the reputation of the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival among that community, among musicians, jazz musicians particularly, and educators is far-reaching. I remember when I was going to school in Texas, I didn't know from Idaho, I didn't know, I'd never been here, but I remember seeing a poster on the bulletin board in the music building down there for the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival, and me looking at the lineup of artists, going, holy cow, look at all these folks that they're getting to Moscow, Idaho, where is that? So the reputation of the festival is very, very broad. Another one of our goals, and as you know or may have read or may have heard, I mean, financially, we need to secure the festival for the future, so that we know that it's always going to happen. And we, with our dean, Andrew Kirsten, the new dean of class, he's really, really working hard on that. And that is one of our, I think the word right size is what we've heard a lot, right sizing the festival, and that is a consideration that we're having. And one of our goals is, for the next 50 years of the Lionel Hampton Festival. And this is another big one. As the festival grew, and more, it started on campus, and as it got bigger and more students were attending, we needed more and more venues for these educational things during the day. And that's when you saw the festival moving out to some of the churches in town, various things downtown, which was great, and it was necessary. But as, in the last 9-10 years, and it's no secret that some of the attendance has gone down a bit, we kept those outside locations and didn't really move back to campus as the size moved back. So we are returning all the educational events, with the exception of maybe one, are all going to be on campus. And that is, I think, a huge deal for the students. I'll give you a little scenario. So let's say in the past, you might have come from Seattle with your school, with your jazz choir, let's say. You went to one of the LDS churches, you did your performance, you had your critique. You go to the mall, you eat lunch, and then maybe you can't afford to stay for the evening concert, so you go home. So you've come to the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival at the University of Idaho, and you haven't set foot on campus. And we all know that getting students, potential students, just getting them on the campus is a huge deal, right? So all the events are going to happen on campus. It will be much easier logistically for the bus drivers. They can pull up, if the weather isn't too bad, they can drop the students off. They can walk to wherever their sites are. They can walk to all the clinics, all the workshops. So we're excited about that. And we're excited about making it clear and easy for community members, letting them know exactly what they need to do if they want to come and see a workshop by one of our guests, and making parking easy and all that kind of stuff to get on campus. So, so the concerts. We have a theme this year, and it's Vanessa's pretty proud of herself because she's kind of came up with this one. We know we discussed it, but grounded in tradition, breaking new ground. And this could be applied to many, many things. But in terms of jazz music, if I am learning to play jazz, I'm learning to improvise, because improvisation is the cornerstone component of what it means to play jazz music, to improvise. The way we learn to improvise, and the way it's sort of been passed down from generation to generation, we study performances and recordings of the masters, of, we could say Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, the list goes on. We study those people. We learn their language, right? Not with the idea that I'm ever going to sound like Louis Armstrong, because that's not in the cards for me. I'm never going to sound that way. But in studying that language, hopefully, at some point, I'm going to develop my own voice, right? Grounded in tradition, breaking new ground. So I've tried to think about relating that theme to some of the programming on the evening concerts, and we'll get to that in a second. But the night concert improvements, like I said, starting the concerts at a little earlier time and then letting them get out early. Having one location. The idea of the smaller venues, I think, was really good, but sometimes in the middle of February in Moscow, people don't want to walk from venue to venue. We saw, sometimes we didn't see great attendance, especially at the later of those three. And then sometimes we saw such enthusiasm from one artist that people would go and they would have bought a ticket, but there was no room at the inn for that first show or the second show or whatever. So having everything in the dome, I think, will ensure that everyone gets to see everything that they want. Some artists that we've secured for this year. Those of you who've been at the festival before, has anybody recognized that guy? Anybody know his name? There we go. Excellent. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Claudio will be back, and Claudio used to be a mainstay at the festival for years and years. And I'm excited to have him back. I'm a trumpet player. He is a wonderful, wonderful trumpet player. He plays a funny trumpet that has, it's called a rotary valve trumpet. Most trumpets are piston valves. They go up and down like this. His go, if you can see from that picture, they go to the side. They're more like the valves that are on a French horn. Anyway, he's a wonderful Brazilian trumpet player, protege of Dizzy Gillespie's. He has been in New York for years and just been just an on-the-scene, very active working jazz musician. We're excited to have him back. He'll be here on Thursday night, the opening night. Also on Thursday night, the opening night concert, we're going to feature the student groups from the University of Idaho, the jazz choirs, directed by Dan Buckfitch, and Jazz Band 1, directed by myself, with Claudio as a guest with both groups. We also have a wonderful singer coming, and she was here 2 or 3 years ago. Her name is Renee Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that was her first appearance at the festival? Did you know that she had a temperature of like 102? She was just like deathly ill from the flu. I didn't know that until after. You would not have guessed it by her performance one bit. Amazing. So she's going to be here. She's, I think, going to be performing, I know she's going to be performing a tune with my band, but on the second half of the evening, she'll close it out with her trio from New York. So it's going to be great. She's a wonderful performer. Very interesting backstory. Came from a situation, and this is all very well documented on her website, a pretty abusive relationship to where her husband said, "You're not allowed to perform anymore," and it got to the point that she had to leave the relationship. And she actually is very active in women's issues and domestic abuse issues, and so and she pours all of that into just intensely emotional performances. So we're excited to have her. And her picture is not up there, by the way. This was done before we knew that we had her. Let's see. So that brings us to Friday night. Since it's the 50th anniversary, we knew we had to do something, with a focus on Lionel Hampton. And if you know your jazz history at all, Lionel Hampton got his big break playing in the small group with Benny Goodman. Benny Goodman was a huge star in the 1930s, and he had a big band, and everybody knew, it was like kind of the #1 big band in the country at the time. But a lot of those band leaders, I mean, they liked playing big band music and swing music, but they liked having a small group because that's really where you could stretch out and improvise more, So Benny Goodman had this small group, and one of the unique things about his group was it was the first publicly performing racially integrated jazz group. And he heard Lionel, actually at the time, Lionel Hampton was playing drums on the road with Louis Armstrong. And Benny Goodman heard him and was going to hire him actually originally as a drummer, but Lionel, and this is a whole other long story, but Lionel was in a recording studio and he saw a set of vibes he had never seen one before. He said, "What's that?" And that was it. Lionel just started playing the vibes. So anyway, so we decided to do some kind of tribute to the Benny Goodman, Lionel Hampton groups at that time. So I got on the phone. First person I thought of was a wonderful vibraphone player named Stefan Harris. And Stefan's been at the festival I think he was here 3 years ago. And I started talking about that, and he said, "Well, do you want me to just do a recreation of that old thing?" And I said, no, not necessarily. And he said, good, because I don't want to do that. You know? And I said, well, okay. And then we got to talking, and he mentioned a student of his, a young student named Joseph Doubleday. And Joseph has a friend named Felix Peakley. Joseph plays vibes. Felix Peakley plays clarinet. He's Norwegian. And they're both recent Juilliard graduates. And he said, they eat, breathe, and sleep Benny Goodman, Lionel Hampton music. And I said, well, that'd be fun to get those guys here. And he said, well, wait a minute, what if we have them do, you know, one of those tunes in that style, in the 1930s style, just like, you know, on the recording, maybe different solos, but on the recording. And it can only be 3 minutes and 30 seconds long, because that's how long the records were back then, right? It can only be 3 minutes and 30 seconds on a side. So what if we have them on one side of the stage and they do that? And what if we have this new band with Stefan Harris and a wonderful clarinet player, her name is Annette Cohen, she's been here 5 years ago, and a band of all really young New York contemporary folks playing the same piece, but in their much more modern, cutting-edge kind of take. So we're going to have two bands on stage doing this back-to-back, grounded in tradition, breaking new ground type thing. So I'm really excited about that thing, and that's come together very much so with the help of Stefan Harris. In fact, I just talked to him on the phone yesterday, and they've figured out tunes and stuff, so anyway, it's going to be awesome. So that's the first half of Friday night. And then Friday, during the day, the school groups are primarily vocal groups. It's vocal day, so there'll be a lot of jazz choirs here, a lot of individual soloists. And so we'll have a group, these folks right there, they're called New York Voices. And if you're familiar with like Manhattan Transfer, or older than that, there's a group called Singers Unlimited. Before that, like the High-Lows, the Four Freshmen, that type of, even back to like the Andrews Sisters, that type of, you know, four-part, really close harmony stuff. So they're awesome. If you look up online, the New York Voices are great. And they'll be accompanied by our house rhythm section, which I failed to mention. 4 folks from kind of all across the country. And I know in the past, we've tended to hire kind of almost the same house rhythm section every year, which I think is really good. Because it develops audience recognition. People recognize, oh, I remember them from last year. But this year, I because it was kind of a change, and it works both ways. If we hire a house rhythm section that's always different, these people are going to come and they're going to have a great time playing at the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival, and they're going to go back to wherever they're from, and they're going to go, yeah, I played this great gig out in Idaho, you know? And I think the way of sort of spreading our tentacles a little bit more that way, it's going to work out. But the pianist we're hiring is a gentleman by the name of Mike Coker, originally from Chicago. He actually went to school at one of my alma maters. He went to the University of Illinois, but was the kind of #1 most busy working pianist in Chicago for a lot of years. And then he took a college teaching position at Arizona State, which is where he's at now. On bass, a gentleman by the name of John Hamer. And John, I knew John when he was in Seattle. Wonderful, wonderful bass player. He has since taken a college job in Tennessee, University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Let's see, on the guitar, a familiar face, Corey Christiansen, who has been to the festival many times. He'll be back. And then on drums, the elder member of the house rhythm section, a gentleman from Portland by the name of Gary Hobbs. And Gary's had a really long and illustrious career. Probably most notably, he spent like 5 years on the Stan Kenton band. Those familiar with Stan Kenton back in the day. And he's wonderful. And they're all very excited to play. You're going to hear a little bit of them also on that first half of Friday with the younger Benny Goodman. They'll be filling out the band for that. So let's see. And then on Saturday, of course, it wouldn't be the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival without the Lionel Hampton New York Big Band. I think we're calling it the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival Big Band this year. And a lot of the same folks that were on Lionel's band when he passed away. And the exciting thing about that this year is they've actually kind of rebooted and have been going out and actually playing quite a few concerts under the name of the Lionel Hampton Band. So they've been working some more, and their vibraphonist who's been doing those gigs is coming this year to play with the band. His name is Jason Marsalis, and if you recognize the Marsalis name, it's a pretty illustrious jazz family from New Orleans. Wynton Marsalis, who heads jazz at Lincoln Center. Their brother Branford Marsalis, who you might have seen on TV. He had the band on the Tonight Show, I think, when Jay Leno had it. At least at first, he ran that band. Also played with Sting and various other pop folks. And then Delphia Marsalis, great trombone player. But anyway, Jason's going to be here. It's going to be awesome. We'll bring back Claudio on that Saturday night to do a feature with Hamp's band. And then a young singer, actually from Spokane. Her name is Julia Keefe. And she's one you probably haven't heard of. But I first heard Julia when she was in high school. I used to teach a jazz camp that was up at Eastern Washington University in Cheating. And she used to come, and she was, I don't know, sophomore, junior in high school, singing these Ella Fitzgerald solos, like note for note, exactly like Ella. And it was wonderful. Anyway, she's gone off to go to school. She went to school in Miami. She's back teaching at Gonzaga up there. And she grew up in Spokane, but she spent part of her time in Orofino. And she's full Nez Perce tribe. And so it's kind of, I think it's kind of a nice, it just all worked out. It's kind of a nice full circle thing with Lionel and that story from before. So she's wonderful, so that's going to be fun. So that's the first Saturday night.